The first CWL since Town Hall 17 has dropped is just around the corner, and I want to share with you guys the top 3 strategies that you can use to get 3 stars every time. The first army that we're going to be taking a look at is Hydra. I just think Hydra, especially at Town Hall 17, is probably the strongest attack in the game, just due to the way the Town Hall works now, and it doesn't have the poison or the bomb after it dies. I really like the version with the recall spell that you can kind of see down here. I like to put the queen on one side, let her get a lot of value, then I'm going to recall her, and then I'm just going to deploy her up here. And what that's going to do is that's going to get rid of this area here and this area here, and this leaves a fantastic little section right here for my dragons to kind of stay nice and clumped up, and then I can blip the Town Hall really easily that way. That's why I like the recall spell. It also, I feel like it makes the army a little bit more versatile. And then good news for you guys who like the Minion Prince. This is probably the only army where you can justify using him and get more value than the other heroes. I just don't think there's a whole lot of synergy with any of the other armies, especially the ones that I'm going to show off in this video. But the Minion Prince works really well with this army, and you guys will kind of see the ability here as we get further into this raid. But with the way the Town Hall has changed now, I just think the Hydra is so strong. The balloons stay alive a lot longer. They're going to, 1, get more damage, because they don't die as much, but 2, they're going to tank and absorb damage that would normally be damaging the Hydra. And so it really works really well in 2 different ways. As long as you can get the clones to land well, and it's worth it to take 3 clones basically every time now because of that reason. I usually use the Royal Champion to help the Queen after I've recalled her, just to help her get a little bit more value, stay alive a little bit longer. She obviously is going to die at some point in the raid. You can see the minion ability going through right here and freezing up a whole lot of the defenses and a hero on kind of that back end of the base. I really like the healing tome over the rage gem with this army. I really think the only time you'd ever want to take the rage over the healing is in 2 different situations. 1, if time is going to be an issue because you need to do damage and make it faster, or if there's some sort of healing that you're going to get that's going to be boosted from the rage gem, like healers or druids. And this obviously has neither of those because this is one of the fastest armies in the game in terms of 3-starring, so I like the healing tome for that reason. Plus, there are a lot of units, and what does it heal? Almost 3,000 health at max level from start to finish if everything is in there. So if everything benefits from that the entire time, that's a lot of health that you're going to get throughout the entirety of the raid. This army is very easy to use, and it's insanely strong, especially with the new levels of dragons that we just got at Town Hall 17. But this, honestly, the strategy works all the way down to even some of the lower Town Halls, like 13 and stuff too. It's just, it's such a good army. It's very consistent. It's easy to 3-star with. I definitely recommend this one's going to be here to stay for all of Town Hall 17, it looks like. So that's army number 1. The second army that we're going to take a look at is the Super Witch army. Now, I think a lot of you are going to be surprised that I'm not putting a thrower army in there. I actually just did a video on my channel yesterday where I compared the Super Witches and the throwers side by side, and honestly, the Super Witches won in almost every way. I did a whole bunch of raids comparing the 2 side by side as well. I think the Super Witch army is just a little bit easier. It doesn't time fail as often, and honestly, it just feels like it has more control and is stronger overall. There are a couple of changes that you have to make if you are going to use this attack at Town Hall 17 though. 1, you have to take 2 earthquakes now instead of 1. Even if your fireball's maxed, you have to have 2 earthquakes to get the max level ricochet cannon and the clan castle, so keep that in mind. And then basically, you treat this just like you would at Town Hall 16. You're going to fireball and create a path on one side. You use your siege barracks and your queen to create a path on the other side, and you're just going to funnel the Super Witches right through the middle of the base, using spells to keep them alive as needed. I've got some Coco Loons there. Basically, with this army, if you can keep the healers alive the entire raid, you're going to 3-star very comfortably. The army is still insanely strong. If the Town Hall is offset like this, I really like to use the Royal Champion and the Rocket Spear in order to just get rid of the Town Hall. That way I don't have to worry about it. I really wish that I could find a way to use the Minion Prince with this army. He's just so cool and a lot of fun to use, even if he's dressed inappropriately, right? But I'm telling you guys, that he's just the worst hero for this army. Not that he's bad, but he's just not as good as the other heroes. This army, man, it still feels insanely strong to me. I'm still consistently just crushing bases. My base here that you can see is a very high level Town Hall 17. It's got a lot of the maxed level defenses, including the fire spitters that are supercharged on my base. 2 of the ricochet cannons and multi-archer towers are maxed, and then I've got the other ones unlocked already as well. Some of the air defenses and wizard towers are maxed too, some of the walls. So this is about as good a base as you're probably going to see in CWL. And you can see here just how dominant this attack really is still. It really just crushes the base. I still had about 40 seconds left at the end of this attack. This attack's here to stay too. I think this one's going to be here for a long time. I'm sure that we'll find ways to include some throwers with this army yet, but the throwers are still largely not figured out for the most part. And so I think we're going to continue to see them used a little bit more as we do figure them out in the future. But for right now, this army I think is probably the best in terms of the ground smash army. The last attack that we're going to be taking a look at today, and I don't think there's really any surprise here, is the Rocket Balloon Fireball attack. And this honestly could be switched with Fireball Lalo. They're both essentially the same attack. You just kind of finish the rest of the base or clean up just a tiny bit differently. With this attack, essentially, you're just going to try and find value with your Flame Flinger wherever you can, and then do a Warden Charge and just try and get a Fireball where ideally you get the Monolith, the CC, the Eagle if you're Town Hall 16 and lower. The Town Hall is always a good target. Any like the tier 1 defenses are always good, but you don't have to get insane fireballs with this, but it's always better, obviously. Now, when I say the best strategy in the game, I really think that Hydra is probably the best strategy in the game. And by best, I mean a combination between strongest, easiest to learn, and then cheap in terms of hero equipment. But I do think that the most powerful attack in the game, just the strongest with the highest ceiling, is this. The ceiling for this attack is so much higher than Hydra. I think Hydra is a little bit more easy to counter with traps and the way you build the base, where this, if you get a really good player that's careful with the way that they raid, it's almost impossible to defend against this. You can just 3-star any base. It's very hard to trap against this. You can try and throw random Teslas and things like that, but I'm telling you, if you get a good player with this, they almost don't fail. This, I think, is probably the most powerful attack in the game, and I think it will be for a long time, just due to the way the Warden Charge and the Fireball works. And then I still think with this attack strategy, trust me, I tried a million ways to try and make the Minion Prince the best hero to use with this army, but I just think the original 4 heroes are probably the best option. I just don't get as much value with the Minion Prince as I do my King or my Royal Champion or my Queen. And then obviously the Warden's the star of the attack, right? So you're never going to want to take him out. If you execute this attack well and you're careful and you don't let your Warden die, you'll be able to consistently swag a whole bunch of army space and a whole bunch of spell space. It's honestly pretty nuts how strong this attack is. It really just... This is the attack to learn if you want to just be able to 3-star any bases. But this is definitely by far the most difficult attack to learn that I showcased today. And because of that, and because of how expensive it is, because you do have the Rocket Spirit, you've got a Spiky Ball, you've got the Magic Mirror, you've got a Fireball. I think a lot of people don't use this army because of that as well. It takes a lot of time and a lot of ores to level all of that stuff up. But if you can afford it and you can manage to get it high enough to where you can use them, this is definitely the attack to learn. Anyway, just to recap everything really quickly, if you guys don't have any experience with any of these 3 armies, Hydra is very easy to learn. The Super Witch army isn't very difficult either. It will take a little bit of practice. The Fireball Lalo or the Rocket Balloon Fireball attack, that is one that you will have to practice a little bit to perfect. But it's still, once you get the hang of the Warden Charge aspect of that attack, it isn't very difficult either. These 3 armies I definitely think are going to be here to stay, especially for the future. We're still figuring out that thrower troop. I don't think it's as game-breaking for Town Hall 17 as the Root Riders were for Town Hall 16, but I'm sure that we'll find ways to incorporate that with new armies here in the future, and we'll keep you guys updated as we do. But thank you guys again for stopping by, and we'll see you guys next time.